The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences. It's time for the Low Fact Podcast. All right. Well, thank you once again.
Hurrah!
For joining our little discussion.
With lashings of whipped cream and ginger beer.
What's ginger beer?
It's like ginger ale.
Is it ginger ale or is it like ginger beer?
It's ginger ale, but they call it ginger beer.
Oh, okay. So, was there anything that you wanted to chime in on that's been going on?
I don't know if it might be a short answer, and if it's a dumb topic, we'll just scrap it. But I'm just kind of wondering what the end game would be for the commies, just kind of like letting stuff go to hell in a handbasket.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know the answer either, so maybe that's just something to think about for another day.
But I think, on that topic, I think it's kind of strange. Not the commie stuff, but the fact that there are people who believe that the propagandists that they believe are telling the truth, and the propagandists that they don't like are lying. And they don't get that they're all propagandists.
Yeah, I've never understood that either.
I mean, you know, right? Like we said, what is it? A handful of companies own everything we watch.
Yep.
Now, you're going to tell me that those handful of companies, populated by all those, I don't know, oligarchs, for lack of a better term,
Right.
are really that different from each other?
No, they're about like power, right?
Well, I don't know what they're about, but I just think it's kind of strange.
But I don't think any of those people even believe. Well, actually, when we say oligarchs, are they people? Or are we talking about companies? Or is it sort of interchangeable?
Well,
Is a person a company?
no.
It's a group of people.
Companies are populated by people.
And I'm pretty sure all those people don't have the same views about stuff. Right? They just espouse whatever they think the popular view is, I suppose.
I think once you get to a certain point, you kind of do like corporate bureaucracy, as opposed to church bureaucracy, as opposed to government bureaucracy. I think the people in all those bureaucracies that, you know, tug at the levers of power or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they're
You're
the
talking
same.
about business bureaucracies.
Whatever. I think they're the same kind of people.
Really?
So, yeah.
Private sector or public sector?
Yeah. So if you find that you're having a hard time navigating a government bureaucracy as an employee or a part of that bureaucracy, you'll probably have a hard time in church bureaucracy. Like if you decided, you know what, I'm going to get out of the government and go to the private sector and work for a gigantic company.
Yeah.
I think that the bureaucracy in the gigantic company and the bureaucracy in the gigantic government probably the same.
But what about timelines though? Because like if I've talked to plenty of people. In fact, I was talking to a guy this week who was saying he was in the public sector for a while, and he said it drove him crazy because it would take a year and a half to do something, and there would just be so much. You know, he was like, it's too slow. Mm-hmm. Right. So he's like, so I had to go back to the private sector.
Right, but do you work for a gigantic private sector company?
Yes.
And he said it's much faster?
No. Yeah, he said stuff gets done faster.
I'm sure that's true. I mean, because there's different motivations and different...
Well, it's business driven, right?
Well, different practicalities.
Right.
Right? A government conceivably can go on forever.
Right. So although some of these big companies seems like they could too. Right,
but even the giant companies, they can go belly up. Think of Lehman Brothers back in the late 90s or whenever it was. Was it the late 90s or was it 2000s?
I think it was 2000s.
Yeah, so think of Lehman Brothers. They were this gigantic investment bank that you didn't think would ever go away, or Enron even.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
And I think that's the same with government. But in government, you essentially have unlimited money.
Which is crazy. Because you really don't.
Right, but in terms of our lifespan, in terms of our experience, how long has the government of the United States been going on? 240 plus years.
Wow.
And it's only gotten bigger, which I think is not a good thing.
I think it's a problem that people in government behave like there's unlimited money. And that's at all levels. Doesn't matter whether it's federal government, local government, fucking public library, whatever.
Yeah, and essentially there is until that government gets taken over or dissolves or falls apart. But even if it does, a whole new batch of people will want to come in and take over.
But funny enough, people who are in that, they never think that they're. I don't think they're sitting there thinking, "Oh, my job could go away tomorrow."
Because the chances of that are incredibly low in your lifetime.
I saw it happen with coronavirus.
Right, but in your lifetime, the government didn't go away; just certain jobs did.
Right, but no one thought those jobs were going to go away. Everybody was just gliding on.
But that's the thing in those big entities.
I mean, there were people at the library that thought that had part-time and full-time gigs for 30 years. And yeah. I'm pretty sure they thought that they were good and that they were safe. And then coronavirus started and then they were like, oh, sorry, we can't keep paying you.
But even what happened with the coronavirus was actually kind of manufactured in terms of the response. Some state governments' response to the coronavirus made those jobs go away.
Yeah, that's true. And yet, probably a lot of those people, just because of their politics, would not recognize that fact. I don't think.
Maybe. I mean,
or maybe they do now.
That was the whole thing about. I know I keep on harping about how I don't want to vote anymore, but because I'm an idealistic slob, I still think that that's something that you should do.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know why. I keep on. I'm like Charlie Brown, trying to kick the football, because people don't think the way I do, or at least a vast majority of people.
But does that mean you keep on kicking the football?
I keep on trying. I don't know why. I keep on telling myself I should stop. But my very large idealistic streak keeps me coming back, and I keep on getting that damn football swiped away from me at the very end, so I end up just, falling into the leaves.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. Because I feel like you would, at a certain point, you'd be like, she's going to pull away the football.
Well, I know she is. I know it's going to happen. And yet I keep on doing it, which makes me feel like I'm either some kind of weird addict, or, someone who's addicted to pain or something.
It's weird.
But here's something that I've observed on a different topic. This whole idea where people think that just because they have good intentions, they are good people.
Oh, well, I recognize this theme.
Yeah, it's a common theme. And
that's the old do-gooder, right?
Well, it's the idea that I personally, in my observations, do not feel that we are anything, anytime. Well, all the time, right? I don't think that we're good or bad, but we are capable of doing good things, capable of doing bad things, and depending on who you ask, the same action can be considered good by one bunch of people, but bad by another.
That's almost always the case now.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about a conversation that we've had many times over about people, and how you had said to me once a long time ago that God made us superior to every other animal or whatever, right?
What he gave us.
Right, yeah. Whatever he gave us, whatever we got, whatever we were endowed by our Creator, kind of makes it to where we should be stewards of the earth.
Uh-huh.
Right? And I was like, nah. And I don't know that I articulated it very well back then. But here's my point now. In that, yes, I believe, well, first of all, I guess to talk about my personal philosophy a little bit, I would say that I'm a non-religious believer.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Well, I'm about to tell you. So I'm a believer, right? But the reason why I'm not religious is because there's a real intellectual conflict for me. I do understand that our Creator is so powerful that He is the road to salvation. And He is so powerful that He can use imperfect, broken beings to save you.
Other people.
Right. Well, people, right?
People.
So like if you're in a church hierarchy, right? Those people are just as broken, just as bad as your normal lay people. But because the Creator is so powerful, He can use those broken, idiotic vessels to bring you salvation. I kind of get that. Now, the part that really just kind of messes with me that really shouldn't is if you have like a person, well, like in the Catholic Church, the devil-worshipping priest. They exist. Some of them go very high. Some of them become popes. But the Creator is so powerful that He can use this devil-worshipping priest to lead you to salvation. And the intellectual conflict, I don't know if it's the conflict that I have is, why do I have to follow the dictates of some devil worshiper?
Well, they're not all devil worshippers, Dave.
No, but I think that the people in the upper echelons are not, I don't know that they're believers. So that's the conflict for me, and it might be the conflict for many people, right? To have to have a philandering pastor,
right?
You know, like Jim Bakker or all the people that used to have those mega churches that are like, oh, I've sinned, blah blah blah, right? Who go around and they're sexually assaulting people, they're like stealing money, they're doing all this junk, right? But that disgraceful. I don't want to call that person bad, because I think anybody in that situation could just as easily end up that way.
Well, I don't know. The devil worshipping thing is like,
is that too strong? Is that too negative of a picture for you?
I feel like the devil worshipper should be struck down.
Well, he may be
smitten,
maybe
smoked.
Well,
smitten, smoked.
The devil worshipper probably will be, but because the Creator is so powerful, He can use that.
But why would He let somebody be a devil worshipper in the upper echelons of the church? That is my question.
I don't know. Maybe that's not the important thing. I don't know. I like I said,
that's what I feel like, because I'm like we have this all-knowing, all-powerful, all-seeing Creator. Why would He let somebody ruin the institution, just like having a pedophile?
Well, I think that's the point. That person's not going to ruin it.
Well, that person shouldn't be anywhere near the church, though.
Well, yeah, you're preaching to the choir on that. I believe that too.
They should be out. They should.
I believe that too.
Outcasts, imprisoned, whatever.
But I think that's the, and I could have it all wrong, but I think the point is the Creator's so powerful.
But what does that have to do with being a good steward of the earth?
Well, that's where I'm going to get to. So okay. a lot of that was a bit of a sidetrack, but a lot of people kind of believe that we are very beloved by the Creator because we are. So because we have superior intellect or digits or whatever we have that the other animals don't. Because of that, we are.
Well, we have intellect,
right,
and memory, and
yeah. Well,
all that stuff,
right? But I thought about it the other day. I was like, well, no, we're not. The situation in my family is different because I don't have like a sibling that's just a total drop kick.
Right. Yeah, your sister's pretty together.
And I don't think I'm a drop kick either. But there are those people who have the family dynamics where they're like, oh, they got the one sibling that's just, I don't know, always doing wrong stuff, never getting anything right, always screwing up. And yet the parents love that kid, that sibling, just like all the other siblings. And the sibling...
Or more.
It seems like, right?
They cut them more slack.
It seems like, right?
Because it's that sibling.
And so the siblings that feel like they're doing what they're supposed to, towing the line, they're like, what the hell, right?
Yeah. Why do they always get a break or?
Yeah. So I'm thinking that among all of our creators' creations, most beautiful, miraculous creations, we're not the sibling that's got it all together. We're the sibling that just can't do anything right, and yet we still get that love and all that. And so...
Well, I've had many a moment in my life where I've prayed and I've gotten stuff, or I've prayed for a friend, and I feel like that friend has gotten a break, like a big break. And I don't know whether it's through my prayer or not, but I'm just like, wow. But why do we always get a break?
Because we need one. Because without it, we would just be screwed.
But I'm sure there's plenty of people out there at the same time that don't believe, that would say, I never get breaks.
And even
God
they,
done
even they,
anything for me.
And they would be wrong.
And they would say, you're wrong.
Well, okay, and that could be an actual discussion about that. But isn't that the whole point of Lucifer, though?
Okay.
Right? The model sibling?
Yeah, he was the model.
And yet...
He's the number one fallen angel.
And yet, it seems that God loves and cherishes these idiot dirtbags, these grabastic pieces of amphibian shit, just as much as the one that did everything that they're supposed to.
Do you think he loves the devil? I don't think so.
Does God love the devil?
Or he lets them exist.
I believe he does.
Because why would you... Yeah, well, that's just like...
The devil is also his creation.
That hurts my brain.
But...
How could you love something that's so abhorrent, though?
Ask a parent of a serial killer.
You think that they still love them even when they're a serial killer?
I believe that if I had a child, and that child did some incredibly horrible things, I don't think that I could bring myself to hate my child.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. But
kind of going back,
okay.
It's more about I think we need to be a little bit more humble, is the deal, and not think of ourselves as like the top, like the perfect sibling, but more like the dropkick sibling.
Okay.
That's what humanity is.
That may be, but it's almost like ego would prevent that view.
Well, I didn't say it was going to be easy.
Having that view of themselves, right?
Didn't say it was going to be easy.
Because people always think they're the bee's nest.
Sure.
Right?
How can you live without thinking that?
And that guy over there is a loser. I mean, I think I told you about that woman I was working with, where she was like, oh man, she was talking about this other guy. And she's like, he really needs to get his shit together. And I'm thinking to myself...
Could be very true.
And I'm like, sweetie, it's not like you're God's gift to man or doing particularly well. In fact, you're not doing very well at all. And yet you're shitting on this guy over here that's basically doing the same thing you are. Like what the hell?
Humility. It brings me back to one of my favorite, I can't quote the actual verse in the New Testament, but it's pretty much, stop harping on the splinter in your brother's eye when you can't see the plank in your own.
That's a great... I think that might be Matthew.
It's either Matthew or Mark. It's one of the M's.
Well, I don't think it's in... some of them are in both, right? Some of the parables are in both. But I think it's Matthew.
Again, it's one of the M's. That's all I remember.
And if anybody who's like a Bible scholar is listening, they're probably just like...
They don't even have to be a Bible scholar. They just need to know which M it is.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. It's just... I think it would be great if people could see that.
Well, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing.
I don't know how you ensure that that's like...
Well, there's no insurance for that either.
Yeah, but it's like, how does that consciousness come about?
You got to keep thinking about it.
Or do things have to be really, really bad?
Well, then it becomes easier.
Right. Oh,
right?
oh.
It became
I really screwed the pooch this time.
It's easier when things are tough and nothing's going good, and then all of a sudden you're all like, God help me, God help me.
But then at that point, are you looking at the stuff you did and saying, you know what, I really messed up here?
Maybe, but it just when I was thinking that, it just made me think. The multi-billionaire sitting on his luxury yacht is not going, God help me, God help me, God help me. It's the guy stuck in a foxhole being shot at from all directions, going, God help me, God help me, God help me.
Mm-hmm.
But I would submit.
Well, fortunately, I've never been in that situation, so.
Well, I don't think you have to be.
I've been in the middle of a thunderstorm in the middle of the mountains.
God help me, God help me, God help me.
Doing Hail Marys.
Right.
With my whole family.
That's what I'm saying. It's real easy to forget that feeling when you're in things are different when you're on the super luxury yacht sipping Moet out of a size 9 shoe.
It's Moet.
Whatever. Mott.
It's not French.
So there's that, but I don't know why I came to that, but it was really because, I don't know, it's because of, there's too many of us believe that because we have good intentions, we're good people, and I'm like, no, your good intentions don't mean anything.
But what if your good intentions are supported by good works?
So you're not doing that 100% of the time. Hell, you're not even doing that 90% of the time.
But I think there's a difference between somebody who sits there and has a bunch of good intentions but then doesn't do anything.
Which is almost everybody.
Versus somebody who's like, these are my good intentions, and then they walk that talk.
Which is almost nobody.
I don't know if it's almost nobody.
Well,
there's some good people.
No, there's no such thing as good people.
Sure there is. I've seen good people.
Okay, so...
Like kind people. People who are kind. People go out of their way to do something for somebody else.
Okay, so did you see that happen when things were good for them?
Yeah. I mean, generally it's when it's somebody who's in a better situation.
Right.
Doing for something for someone who's in a worse situation.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
What if you're both starving to death and you find like a ham sandwich that someone threw away?
Well, then it's some Lord of the Rings shit.
You mean Lord of the Flies?
No, Lord of the Rings. Then it's Smeagol and Deagle fighting over the ring.
Okay, well. In which case, are you still a good person?
I don't know.
See, to me, your example is very situational.
Yeah, I mean, it's one I've observed, but that's generally that's the dynamic. You're right. That's the dynamic.
So that's why
once again.
No, that's why I'm saying that there's no
bursting my balloon again.
I'm not bursting your balloon. I'm just saying it's.
Well, you are though, because you're saying that people will only do good when they're kind of doing better.
You filled that in.
Really?
Yeah. Are there people that would share that ham sandwich with a perfect stranger? I'm sure there's got to be.
Even if they're hungry.
There's got to be. Have I ever seen that person exist, or are there stories about those people? I'm sure there are, but I mean, okay, but that is an exceptional person, and you can't make policy based on exceptions. You can't make grand stereotypes based on exceptions, right?
Yeah.
Now, does that mean just because that we're not quote unquote good people in my book, does that make us bad people? No. It's not one or the other in this case.
I'm still trying to get my head around the devil worshipping priest.
Well, it was just an example.
Yeah, but it's a horrible example.
Well, it's hard.
But
the point of it is not the person. The point of it is the power of the creator.
But why do you got to give such an extreme example, though?
Because if I gave you an easy example, you'd be like, well, that's just not going to happen. Well, I don't believe that. Fine, don't believe it. I'm not here. I'm not a zealot. I'm not here to make you believe what I believe.
Oh, I'm here to make people believe what I believe. I am a zealot.
Well, maybe I think that might be something that people would want to work on.
I think that's hardwired.
It may be.
Like if you have my personality, you tend towards zealotry, I believe.
Well, I think that's just kind of the way people are because we're pretty geared to conform because of so many thousands of generations of living in a society or in societies. And the best way to get along in a society is to conform.
Yeah.
And I guess we can leave with I forget who I was listening to on the radio, but they were talking about that. You know, we're really geared to conform, not to rebel.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think that you're the freedom fighter trying to keep the forces of evil at bay, a la, you know, coronavirus lockdowns, a la injustice,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're really the prison guard trying to keep everybody in line. And if you want to take that into a really, really stark thing, we're not like a prison guard at some jail. We're like one of the inmates at a concentration camp, and one of us becomes a guard. You know,
I get it, and I can see that because all those people, like all the guys that make their money off of, you know, the radio guys, the news guys, that's their shtick, right? They say, oh, we're fighting the revolution, we're fighting like big media or whatever they're called, you know, the mainstream media, and it's like you are the mainstream media.
Yeah, you work for those guys.
So why do we even listen to them?
Because we also want to be with people that we think like us. We want community.
But they don't, though, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So don't fucking listen.
I don't know that I said that. I don't even know that I would suggest that because that's impossible.
But don't believe it then. Don't believe the hype.
Try not to. Don't get wrapped up in it is probably what I would say. Don't get carried away.
I wish we could use Don't Believe the Hype as our theme music.
Is there a song like that?
Yes. Public Enemy?
Don't know it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's listen to that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.